Okay, today we're going to try and repair a PlayStation controller. What I have is two bad ones. I have the one I normally use, which has stick drift, which anybody that plays with controllers, they understand what that is where the character or item on the screen moves because the stick is, well, it's drifting. Also, the battery in this only lasts 10 to 15 minutes, and then if you don't plug it into a charger, it disconnects because the battery's bad. This one was brand new. Unfortunately, the retailer would not take it back, and Sony's pretty much useless when you want to call them about complaints like this. Brand new, out of the package. Works great, but intermittently the options button does its thing, which then tells the PlayStation to quit the game or change the settings. Or this button here, without touching it, it'll engage the main menu. You can literally pair this to your PlayStation, just sit it down on the table like so, walk away, and within usually a minute, something on your screen will start changing because something inside the circuitry of this controller is defective. But it is brand new. It has a good battery, and the sticks work. So I was able to use it to test all the controls to make sure it was a functional controller, just something in the circuitry is bad. So to do it, you have to remove 4 screws, which I've already removed them from the 2 controllers so I can speed up the process a little bit. You just need a small Phillips, and a spudger comes in handy for sticking it in the seam and popping it open. Because even though you have screws in there, it also has little plastic clips to help positive tension on it, I guess you could call it. Wow, this one's got a tight seam. Come on. There we go. There might be an easier way of doing this. I'm not sure. I've never opened a controller before. Used to be in the old days, you just throw it away and buy a new one. But not anymore. Wow. There we go. Now she's starting to come apart. Ah. The ribbon cable I just removed is for the LED light right here. And here's the big obnoxious battery that doesn't like to hold a charge. It's a 4.2 volt, 1000 milliamp hour. It's actually a relatively large battery. It just doesn't hold a charge. That or the charging circuit's bad. I don't know. But if you plug it in, it works fine. Except for the drift. The stick drift, again, is kind of annoying. This one, same thing, plug the LED. This one's got a cheaper battery, 800 milliamps, and it's 2.96 watt hours. And 3.7 volts. This one is probably the same. 3.7 volts, lithium ion. So yeah, this one has a cheaper battery. That's nice. But it's brand new and works. I don't feel like getting a expensive battery to replace this one that doesn't want to work or doesn't want to hold a charge. What I'm doing is just replacing the battery and seeing if it does the charge. If it has a problem charging, then I know it's actually a bad circuit for the charging of the battery. Alright. Let's see, how do we take the circuit board out to get to the sticks? I don't see any screw. Oh, there is a screw right in the middle. Alright. Battery tray and the screw, which we'll set off to the side. I've been told you can't replace the sticks because they're soldered onto the board. But you can replace the lights, you can replace your buttons, you can replace your these buttons, you can replace the pads, you can replace the motors. I've been told you can't replace the sticks, and that's the whole reason I'm taking this apart, is to see if it's even possible. If it is, great. If it's not, oh well. Alright. These two pieces of plastic are the buttons that went here and here. Get that out of the way. Actually, now that looking at the top of this printed circuit board, which is for the signals of your buttons and stuff, I wonder if that's the problem over there with the other controller, is that maybe one of these is pinched, like right here where the button would be. Maybe this is pinched on that one. I'm not sure. I know in the industry I work in, they usually call these piezo style switches. I'm not sure what Sony calls them. So this has a little ribbon cable, which is right here. Slide that bad boy out, and we'll get rid of this button and light. Anybody's ever worked on a car dashboard, the old car dashboards look like this too. And where these button tabs are, you would have the cam lock for your lights. What I'm looking for is how to get the circuit board separated from the plastic housing. Some might say, oh, you have to reset your controller when it has issues. There's two tabs. I found them. This controller was reset several times and it still had problems with it randomly doing things. Well, this controller, like I said, has stick drift and malfunction with the battery. Alright, so there's the circuit board. Separated. This is the stick that has the problem. So if I'm holding the controller this way, it's the left stick. And that stick is held in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 solders. The hard mounts for the stick itself are not soldered, just the electrical connections. Which 3, 3, and 2. There's nothing here that's soldered, which might be a problem. I can compare it to that one. And there's some people call them ground mounts. This metal casing isn't soldered. And I know it's electronics, and I've had people say things about static. I grounded myself prior, but I do have a grounding strap when I work with things that are more important. Like I said, I'm not too concerned about the controller. If I don't fix it, I don't care. I already have replacements. This would just be a backup. And let's compare this circuit board. On this circuit board, they actually soldered the two of the mounts diagonal. Well, this one, they're not. So this one will be slightly easier to get the stick out. This one will be slightly harder. I would normally just, hey, let's use this controller. But again, something in the circuitry over here, because that's the brain, is telling the PlayStation to do things it's not supposed to be doing. So I don't know if there's a bad solder joint, an arcing solder joint, if it's a defective chip. Not sure. But I know it's a pain in the butt, and it gets in my nerves. So that clip's done. This clip. There we go. Oops. Got it. Come on. There you go. This one's definitely in there better. I guess a 2019 or 2020 edition controller is built better than the previous generation. Circuit board's held in a little bit tighter. And they added more solder to the sticks. I don't know if they had people complaining. Yeah. Guess I'll pull out the ribbon cable first. Not enough grip. There we go. Oh, I actually use a screw in the center of the circuit board. I was missing it. Oh, it's the same screw as the other one, except this battery pack piece was broken. Yeah, I'm sure somebody was screaming at their screen telling me I was missing it. Oh well. It is what it is. Ooh, this one's blue. Alright. So, here's the old original controller that came with the PlayStation. And here's the new controller that was purchased. You can see that basically the same, except to change the color of the buttons. And the color of the printed circuit board on the top. Yeah. Other than that, they're pretty close to the same. Can't imagine them changing it too much. Yeah, they're both version 1.1s. So, anyhow, these little pads right here are your options and your share buttons. So on this controller, it's this button, which is right here, that keeps engaging by itself, is the main issue. Then the big PlayStation button, which is going to be pressing, I assume, on these three pads, is my second issue. I don't see any damage to the circuitry for the options button, to the actual tracks to trace. And it could be this bad resistor on that trace. It could be a bad capacitor on this trace, and on this one's a capacitor as well. So I mean, it could be that itty bitty, or where to go? That itty bitty component, which I don't have enough magnification to replace it myself. So I am just going to worry about replacing the stick and the battery. So, and when you do take it apart, unplug the battery, because lithium ions tend to explode. I'm thinking the solder pads are large enough. I should be able to just use a solder sucker and a solder pen. Sometimes you could use a rework station, or that heat stick I use, or the heat pen. It's actually designed to get so hot it melts all the solder on the circuit board. I don't really want to do that. I just want to remove the specific solder joints. I'm going to do the stick on the newer controller first, so if I screw it up, I'm not too concerned. Both controllers are, like I said, technically bad. I'm just trying to salvage and make one controller out of two. So I have a spare. Now I'm going to desolder, but sometimes when you desolder, you have to solder, get your soldering tip wet so you can get a good connection, especially if they use lead-free. Lead-free solder sucks. So I'm going to first start with the one of the hard mounts they use to attach to the circuit board. This is just a ground or a mount. I have my solder pen set at 275 degrees centigrade. It's not super hot. I might bump it up just because it's having a harder time cutting through. There you go. Now I'm going to do the one diagonal, which is the other hard mount. Oh yeah, that melts a lot better. I bumped the temperature up to 325. So I've added 50 centigrade to the thing. Yeah, that's melting a lot better. There's a lot of solder on here. There we go. On those two pads. Now I'm going to work on the 8 electrical connections. Just make sure this doesn't have any extra connections since it's newer. Doesn't look like it. And for all those computer people out there that do this kind of stuff for a living, I don't. So if I'm doing it wrong, you can tell me in the comments if you'd like. It's not my daily job. Just do this for I'm cheap. I don't like spending money on stuff if it can be repaired. Plus I like taking things apart and seeing how they're made. So if you've never seen a solder sucker, when the solder builds up that you suck off, sheets like that come out. Alright, how's the stick coming along? Is it starting to move? Can I get a little extra solder? Alright. Oh. Wasn't fast enough. So yeah, this is the process. Just keep going back and forth until it breaks free. Get that screw out. All right. Looks like I just got 2 left. just adding a little tension to the edge, because some of the solder I can't get out is re-adhering, so I'm not getting the motion I need to pop it. I finally got it to start moving. But yeah, it's a little bit of a process. You just got to go around to each one of the pads. You can use a solder wick as well. I'm not a big fan of them. I might pull it out and try it. I'm going to see about just going around and using the solder pen with the solder sucker and going back over all the holes. So while I do this, I'll be back once this one's out. That way you don't have to watch for the next 10 minutes or something. And maybe I'll figure out an easier way once I get it out. So I shall return. Okay, got it out. It was a pain. I'm not sure if this was a, well, this was the one that randomly did stuff, but I'm sure I screwed up the circuit board even more to where it's no longer a functioning circuit board. I tried doing the rework where you heat it with air and melt the solder and pull this out, which started working until the smoke alarm went off and the circuit board is no longer flat. So then I went to using the solder pen and using a small screwdriver to keep tension with the solder sucker and remove the rest of the solder. And then I cleaned up some of the pins with the solder pen. The problem I'm having is, well, I can't get the 3 pads clean enough to pull them out without constantly applying heat. There's 3 pads next to each other, 3 pads. So I decided to try something different for the other controller, which has a good circuit board, and I don't want to melt it like this one. So I'm not going to use the solder station or the rework station. I'll go old school. Use something that has a lot of heat at a certain area that will cover 2 or 3 pins at once with the flat chisel tip. And I'm going to try and use well, this is solder up, but solder wick, and try and wick some of the solder off this other board and then swap the sticks. So this one should be slightly easier because there's less solder. You know, I said that, so Murphy's going to come over and say, "You're wrong." This one had 3 extra solder points that this one doesn't have because they soldered actually 3 of the 4 corners of this metal housing. So, I've never been a fan of solder wick. I particularly don't care for it. I know people that use it. I've used it in the past. But I heard that if you actually apply a little flux, it'll help. I'm going to put an itty bitty bit on there, and then I'm going to put some on here. That might be the whole reason I don't like it. Maybe it's because I've been doing it wrong. Even when I was younger and did electronics, we'd never used solder wick. We always just desoldered it using a old school solder sucker like that. Things change, and I wasn't doing it professionally, as in the sense that was my day job. So. Same thing. I'm gonna fire this bad boy up. Once it gets up to temperature, gonna wet it a little bit with some solder. It doesn't sound good. Come on. No, that's not normal. This thing should get the temperature by now. There we go. Melt some of the solder. Knock off the extra. Not working too bad. Yes, I'm sure there's people out there that have done this or do it as a living, and they're probably screaming, "You're doing it wrong." Sorry. still have solder, not as much. There is a lot less. Let me clear off some of the liquid from the flux. Put a little tension. There we go. And see if I can get this thing to start to lift. So the tension came out. Okay. There we go. That side's out. Now let's get these out. I do like these soldering guns. They're really good for large pad areas, and they're pretty durable. This one's old. I think this is the second one I've ever owned because they last forever and they get hot. Okay, those three are done. So one of these guys is still stuck right here. Now that one was a lot easier. I should have used that the first time. So this is the bad stick, or the stick with drift. You can see it's got orange, I guess they're potentiometers. If you look, you might be able to see the center section moves with the stick. So that's what sends your signal for up, down, left, right, and at angles when you do this. Now getting this one in, because if any of the holes are dirty, it's not going to get in very well. Which of course, that's the way it always is. Yeah, all the holes are clogged. Yeah, like every single one of them. No, one's not. So I'm going to go back to the solder sucker versus the solder wick and try and clean out these holes. I'm going to get up the temperature. There we go. Knock off the extra. That's not working so well for me. Looking for a pin. Let's use one of those. I'm going to do is actually just poke out the solder. Usually use a toothpick. But I'm going to use a piece of wire. Normally I don't use wires because it can resolder itself into the hole. It's actually a resistor. And I'm going to go back to the pen without hopefully burning it on the other one that's cooling down. So I got one hole cleared out. This will work again. I have something to stop it from moving. Sure, I'm not going to grab anything that can get damaged. There. Complete mess. The reason I switched over is I can stick the tip of the soldering iron into each of the holes because it's a point and help clean them out. Got 2 or 3 left. Let's see. So this goes on. So I got 2 left. That didn't work. All right. Let's see if this thing will drop in. Probably not. Might have to clean off more of these pegs. I got too much solder on these. I cleaned them with the solder sucker, but I did not clean them with the solder wick, which is probably going to be more important. Or probably easier to clean. Push her can see, it does pull it off. It does clean the pins. Might fit in the board better now. There's one right there. I have a couple of bent pins. I'm going to straighten them out real quick. Might make it easier to stick in. Not over far enough. There we go. Apparently I cleared 2 of the 4 holes in the one side, and they were the 2 holes that weren't being used. So yeah. There's 4 holes, 2 and 2, and there's 2 and 2. I cleaned the outer 2, apparently it's the inner 2. I just thought it only had the 2 holes that were being used, which it does, it's just I cleaned the wrong 2. Considering getting one of those desoldering stations that has a little like suction on it. I don't desolder as much as I solder, so come on, clean out the hole. There we go. And yeah, talking to your projects help. Give them encouragement. There we go. Hey, look, it goes in now. All I'm doing is apparently I bent the pins, but I didn't bend them quite to the right spot, so I'm just adjusting them a hair with my screwdriver blade. So that way they line up with the holes. So one that's off. Come on. Once I get them in, just got to resolder them without burning myself. Apparently I did not get enough solder off the tops of these, and that That's my problem. Alright, now that the thing is pushed through, I just need to solder all the pins again. Just making sure that they're pushed in all the way. I'm only going to solder the ones that were originally soldered. I don't know why the other ones aren't soldered. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind it is, but I'm just going to solder. Get this stuff out of the way. Everything back to the way it was, and then reassemble the controller, put the battery in it, see if it lights up, and then see if it pairs with or reconnects to the PlayStation and functions like it's supposed to. Just having a problem with 3 pins. 3 of these bad boys just do not want to cooperate. I'm trying to do it without touching any of the circuitry on the board, because that would be bad. Well, this one side just doesn't want to cooperate. All lined. Ooh. There we go. Hey. Apparently when I took the solder off, it was just out of alignment. So now it's in. It's relatively flush. This side's up a hair. There we go. So now it's flush back. You can see I have an orange one, a black one, so I changed it. Now I'm going to solder it in and reassemble. Probably should, just to make life a hair easier. A little bit of flux. A little too much right there. There we go. Alrighty. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, all 8 of them are in. I'm just going to use a magnifying glass to make sure that the solder joints are good. Good, 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 good. Nope, that one's not. There we go. Much better. I'm going to pat off the rest of the solder flux paste so that way it's a dry circuit board. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, like I was saying, I tried. You can't be successful 100% of the time. One. And two buttons are back in. Go back together. There we go. Apparently you need to put it at a slight angle so it pops through. Okay. There is a little, straighten that back out as much as I can. There's a little notch or slot that this ribbon cable slides through. I know it's bent because they put it in and fold it, but I need it unbent enough to get it through the slot. And something tells me I'm supposed to put this in first. So, it's alright. Alright, so you have to, for those who haven't done, you have to slide it in from the back. I was trying to bring it in from the front. Put the button back in. You can't screw up the buttons, they're notched, so you really can't put them in backwards. Doesn't fit. And I make it slightly harder now to put that ribbon cable back through. Okay. Alright, let's kick it at an angle. So we get the sticks in. That. There we go. It's in. Sticks are in, buttons in. Where to put that screw? There. Let me make sure it's clipped. It's got those little clips, clipped and clipped. So we're good. Now I'm going to stick the ribbon cable back in. There's a little black door that pops up for the ribbon cable. I'm going to push that back into its place. And then flip the little door down. Like that. And battery. Of course, I set it down too hard and I push the buttons, or push the sticks through. There we go. And there we go. So, those feel good. That works. That works. Those feel good. Put the bottom back on. Plug the ribbon cable back in. You think I'm forgetting the battery? I'm not. I'm getting the ribbon cable set first. The battery isn't held in with anything other than gravity. So yeah, it's not like there's a clip or they use double back tape or anything like that. Most they have is this little hook here to hold the wire down so it doesn't get in the way. But it doesn't hold the battery in itself. What holds it in is these two outcroppings of plastic pushed down on it. What I'm talking about. Damn battery, stay in its place. There we go. And clip it together. Clip, clip. Uh-oh. No lighty. So, either I damaged the circuit board, or I need to reconnect it, or the battery is dead from sitting because I haven't charged it. But normally when you press this button here, that lights up. Blue or red, green or pink. Those are the four colors that it generally lights up when you're first turning it on. Generally it's blue or red. You only get green or pink if there's other controllers already paired. So let's pop it open and see what may have gone wrong. There we go. Open sesame. Make sure that's actually in its place. Make sure I didn't stick it in backwards. Nope. I can see the teeth. So. Doubt this is the problem, but I will put the original battery back in and see if it lights up. Yeah, it lit up. And I heard the PlayStation turn on in the other room. Okay, that's weird. I don't understand. They're the same power. The power wires are in the same spot. This is a weaker battery. No, they're not the same power. It's a 3.7 volt. This one is a 4.25 volt. That's weird. This one says it'll run at 3.65. I'm going to unplug the old battery that doesn't hold a charge for very long. And I'm going to plug in the new battery again. See, maybe it's just a connection issue. And nope. Is there a compatibility issue? It's a battery. I would think not. I don't have leads that fit inside of these holes, so I'm going to stick one in the positive on one side, one resistor in the negative on the other side, so I'm less likely to touch them and cause the battery to explode. Because, you know, lithium ion. You can see the machine there, and still I don't have any power. You normally can't get zero on that LiPo or Lion. Sorry. Make sure I have good connections. Well, that is odd. I can't imagine the new controller battery dying that fast since it's only been used once. I mean, I prefer the bigger battery anyway. No, I'm going to use this just to test the controller then. Worst case, I'll just plug it in to test the stick. Which way? Nope, that way. The twist I was doing was for the ribbon cable to make sure it's twisted correctly. Yep, it's flashing. Alright. Now it's time to go test it. Alright. You can see this is the stick I replaced. All the functions work, and the character doesn't move. Before, the character would just do this. So, got the stick replaced, and now I have to figure out why the other battery doesn't work, which isn't the original. So, it works. It's fixed. It's a pain in the butt, but if you get a stick or a broken controller that has good sticks, you can replace the stick. Good luck.